Good morning and welcome to the School of Consciousness. Today, what we're going to be doing is diving into some deep belief changing work. So, I'm going to talk about how to change your beliefs from a very deep level. We're going to look at the different parts of ourself, the conscious parts of ourself, the subconscious parts of ourself, and also the unconscious part of the self as well. So, usually, I'll talk about this from a very Western perspective, like there's a quite a common, thread in the Western psychology world of talking about this conscious, subconscious, unconscious. But today I'm going to talk about it from a bit more of an Eastern perspective. We're going to talk about the different bodies and the different parts of the self from an Eastern, philosophy perspective. So that's going to be super interesting. I'm excited to dive into that with you guys. But today, before we even get into any of that, I want to start with a short meditation. So, firstly, I'll just invite you to get into a comfortable position. Make sure you're seated somewhere that you can just relax your body, you can relax your mind. And when you're ready, you can just gently close down your eyes. You might want to take your hands and place them in your lap or on your knees. And just start by taking a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let it all go. And simply become aware of the fact that right now you are existing. You are here, and the time is now. And there's a little mantra that I'd like you to say in your own mind. Follow along with me. I don't need anything from anyone or anything. As we start today's session, you can just repeat this to yourself and notice how you feel. I don't need anything from anyone or anything. So with our eyes closed, taking another deep breath. I don't need anything from anyone or anything. We want to let that be the energy that we're going to carry throughout the day today. I don't even need anything from anyone or anything. Often we find ourselves with wants and needs and desires, and we're trying to achieve things. But what we want to do today is start with a blank slate. I don't even need anything from anyone or anything. And if you find that hard to believe, maybe you feel like I do need something, then you can say it to yourself with a bit of an attitude. Like, I don't even need anything from anyone. What am I even worrying about? I really don't need anything right now. And just see how that makes you feel. We're just gently letting go of any desire. And I hope, I trust that that will encourage you to feel feelings of spaciousness, of peace, of bliss, simply by not needing anything from anyone or anything. It implies that you already have what you need. So we could get off this call right now. You've just realized that you've got everything that you need. So you don't even need anything else. So we're done. We're complete. We're whole. All right? That's what we want. When we're doing work on ourselves, it's usually because we want to become a more whole, complete, perfect, peaceful, loving, together version of ourselves. We want to become our highest self. And one of the best ways for that to happen is to let go of anything that says that you're not already that, or that you don't already have that. And so when we say to ourselves, I don't want anything from anyone or anything, well, that's really what we're touching, that sense of having everything that we need already. So you can write that one down if you want. I don't even need anything from anyone or anything, and use it as a mantra throughout your day. All right? This desirelessness. I don't need anything from anything. You can write that down if you like. You can use that. It's a mantra that we've been using for the last few weeks throughout this School of Consciousness. And I thought it would be nice to start today's session with that as well. So whether or not you're still in your meditation, you can take another deep breath. And let it all go. And just stay present for a few seconds. That's all you need. A few seconds of present awareness, one mindful breath, and then a few short moments of present awareness. And if you do that and you repeat that for enough times, you'll start to get a sense for that wholeness that you're searching for, that peace, that higher self. It's always just there, right behind all the thinking, right behind all the doing. We're going to talk more about that today. I'm going to talk about how do we change our deepest beliefs, our deepest, most unconscious or subconscious beliefs, because we all know that our beliefs and our thoughts and our emotions shape our reality. So how do we change our deepest beliefs, right? Now, usually there's the conscious mind that people are most aware of, right? I'm conscious, I'm seeing the world, I'm touching things, I'm doing things, and I'm conscious of that, right? I'm conscious of the fact that I'm alive and I'm talking to people and I have relationships, and that's the most common thing that people are aware of, right? That they are conscious. Everyone, it's kind of a given, right? We all know that we're conscious beings. So that's no surprise, right? Now, when we're talking about changing our beliefs, there's a layer deeper that people usually go to the subconscious, right? Now, what the subconscious is it's kind of like a layer back from the physical world. So if the conscious, when we're conscious, we're aware of the physical world. We can touch things, we can do things, we can be with people. The subconscious, it's like one layer back. So it's the non-physical. It's the beginning of the non-physical anyway, from our perspective. It's the thoughts, it's the emotions. Usually that is subconscious or just beneath the conscious, right? So we have our conscious awareness of, okay, all of this stuff that's happening. Josh is talking. I can touch my laptop, I'm on my phone maybe. Conscious of that. A layer back, you've got your subconscious, right? Where it's maybe thoughts or feelings about what you're experiencing right now, or I'm understanding what Josh is saying, or I'm not understanding what Josh is saying, or I'm feeling tired because I stayed up last night, or I feel like really full of energy and I'm ready to go for the day, or that meditation made me feel really good. That's all just behind, right? The physical world. It's in the non-physical. It's the thoughts and the emotions, right? But there's actually another level back, because our thoughts and emotions, they come from somewhere, right? Why do different people think different things? Why do different people feel different feelings, right? Like, what's the origin of all of that? So we go a level back. And this is kind of like the unconscious. And the unconscious is really comprised of our deepest beliefs about who we are, about what the world is made up of and what it means to be in the world. Right? It's like your traditions, your religions, your culture, it's your deepest belief systems, right? And most of the time, that's actually unconscious. People are really, they have beliefs, but for the most part, people have no idea. They're not conscious of what they are believing. They might know some fundamental beliefs, like I'm a man, you're a woman, I live in Australia. I believe in God, I don't believe in God, right? I think that the government is corrupt, or I think that the government is great. So those are some pretty, common belief systems. You might think the government's awesome. You might think the government's really not awesome. You might believe that. You might believe people are inherently good. You might believe people are inherently bad. You could believe anything, right? The point that I'm trying to make here is that there are beliefs that are kind of more conscious, that we're more aware of, but then more often than not, there's a whole bunch of other beliefs that we're just not even conscious about. They're totally unconscious. And there's a famous psychologist called Carl Jung, and he talked about, he had this quote, right? This great quote. He said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So what he's essentially saying is until you make those deepest, unconscious, in the dark parts about yourself conscious, until you bring some light to those parts of yourself, they will direct your life, or it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So whatever you've been experiencing in your life so far, it's really being directed by a lot of the unconscious beliefs about who you are as a person and what it means to be in the world. So that's what Carl Jung said. He said, until we go and change the unconscious, until we change the unconscious, it will direct our life, and we're just going to call it fate. So how do we change the unconscious? Well, that's the question, right? And it's actually kind of hard because it's unconscious and we're not even aware of it. So how do you change something that you're not even aware of, right? That's the real question here. And so I wanted to dive into this from a different perspective. We're going to look at it from a more Eastern perspective. So I've just talked about Carl Jung and his philosophy around the unconscious and the conscious and the subconscious and what that all means. So another way that you could look at this is like an iceberg, right? Like the tip of an iceberg just pokes out of the water, right? A little bit of it. A little bit of the iceberg pokes out of the water, but underneath the water is a massive, massive chunk of the iceberg, right? You could say 95% of the iceberg is underwater and 5% of the iceberg is above water, right? Now, this is a metaphor for your mind as well. 95% of your mind is subconscious and unconscious, and only 5% is conscious. So you're only really aware of 5% of the world. And that other 95% is actually where all of your beliefs, your memories are held. And that's what directs your life. That 95% that's sitting under the water, that's under the surface. So we have to learn how to, first of all, identify and become aware of what's under the water, what's under the surface, and then change it. So I'm going to talk about this from a different perspective now, an Eastern perspective, right? Because in the yogic philosophies, so not necessarily psychology, but more like yoga and, Vedic traditions, they talk about the self from a bit of a different perspective. They don't really use conscious, subconscious, unconscious. They use the physical body. They talk about it in bodies. We have different bodies, right? So we have a physical body, which is, we're all aware of that. We know we have our physical body. And our physical body is kind of like the conscious, right? So if we were making a similarity between the Western and Eastern, the physical body would be like the conscious mind, right? Physical and conscious, right? So we have a physical body. Now we also have a more subtle body, they call it in the yogic traditions. They say we have a subtle body. And the subtle body is the non-physical body. It's the thoughts, it's the emotions. It's kind of like the mental body, right? So you have a physical body and you have a mental body. Now, the mental body is kind of like the subconscious, right? In the West. The West is kind of like this, it's called the subconscious. In the East, it would be called the subtle body, right? And we have that. Now, the physical body is dense, it's heavy, it's slow, it's like made of matter. When we go to the subtle body, it's lighter. It's a higher dimension, right? It's not it's not physical. It's less physical. It's still there in your mind, and sometimes it maybe even feels physical in your body. Maybe you get these feelings, these emotions, right? So it's kind of it's less physical than the actual physical body, but it's not completely transparent because it's still there, right? It's still up here, and you feel it in your heart, and sometimes you feel it in your body as well. Example would be if you have anxiety, sometimes your body tenses up, and so the subtle affects the physical. The thoughts and emotions can affect the physical body. So the subtle body can affect the physical body, right? So that's pretty interesting. And like I said, right, we have our thoughts, we have our emotions, but what's the difference between the different people and their different thoughts and their different emotions? Well, it's their perspective. So we have to go a layer back, right? It's the unconscious belief systems. So we're getting back into the deeper belief systems now, right? So a layer back from the subtle body is what they call the causal body. Now you could imagine this as your point of view. So if you imagine you are a person and you're standing on top of a big hill and you're looking out at the world, right? And you are seeing like a perspective of the world. You've got a point of view. You are the point and you have a view, right? And so this is what they call the causal body. And it's really the cause of the subtle body and the physical body. It all starts back here at your point of view, at your perspective, you could call it your soul, right? Every single one of us here has a soul. And this is kind of like our unique perspective. It's our unique point of view. It's our causal body. It's causing. It's causing our thoughts. It's causing our emotions. It's causing the physical manifestations that we're experiencing. It all starts back here. And could also be called the unconscious, right? From a Western perspective. So we've got a physical body, we've got a subtle body, and we've got a causal body or a perspective or a point of view or a soul. Now, when we get to the level of the soul, we're getting to be very non-physical, right? It's a lot more transparent. It's a lot clearer. So when we're talking about changing our beliefs, our deepest beliefs, we have to, our unconscious beliefs, we have to get back to this perspective. We have to get back to the soul. We have to get back to our initial primary point of view. And that means going back behind the thoughts and emotions, going back behind the physical body. And so what do we do in meditation, right? What did we do at the start of this session here? We closed our eyes. And so instantly we kind of went behind the physical world. We took a deep breath. We let go of that breath. And I'm trusting that you would have experienced at least a moment of presence behind the thoughts and behind the emotions. That's what presence is. When you are truly present, you are behind the physical body, you are behind the thoughts, you are behind the emotions. You're sitting in this blank room, this dark room, this blank canvas of just present awareness. And that is your causal body, right? That is what causes everything comes from there. Everything comes out of present awareness, of consciousness, right? All of your thoughts, all of your emotions, all of your doings, all of the happenings in the world come out of that pure blank canvas of consciousness and of present awareness. So when we want to change our deepest beliefs, we have to get over ourselves, right? Like I've said this a few times in the School of Consciousness, we need to get over ourselves. You need to get over yourself, right? And what that means is get over your physical body, get over your thoughts, get over your emotions, and connect back into that place of pure consciousness, right? That is what higher consciousness is. Lower consciousness is all of your thoughts and fears and judgments and anger and frustrations and resentments and all of your condemnation and your judgment. All of that is lower consciousness, right? Higher consciousness is just a sense of total presence. And in that is peace, right? You guys, I'm sure would have felt it. Take a deep breath, relax, let go, and you feel it like that feeling of presence. It feels peaceful. It feels complete. It feels like I don't even need anything from anyone or anything. I'm good right now. I have my present awareness. I have my consciousness, and I realize that all of my experiences in life are coming out of this anyway. And so I have it already, right? So I know we're getting a little bit deep here, but the point I'm making is that when we want to change our deepest beliefs here, we have to get back behind the physical, behind the thoughts, behind the emotions. We have to connect back into the present awareness. We have to really check in with our point of view and our perspective. So you can ask yourself questions of like, what must I be believing is true for this to happen? So, for example, if you're experiencing some undesirable manifestation in the physical world, or even in your mind, you could ask yourself this question: what must I be believing is true for this to be happening, or for this to be real? Because that's what's causing, that's the causal body. There's something that you believe, whether you're conscious of it or not, that's causing the experiences that you're having in your life. So we need to be very intentional with looking at our belief systems, what we are choosing to believe. And we need to kind of be able to think critically about whether or not our belief systems are true, whether or not they're serving the greater purpose of love and unity and oneness. And we have to be really, really honest with ourselves about that. And if you can do that, if you can really start to look at your beliefs at a much deeper level, you'll be able to change them. You'll be able to shift them around, and you really just become like the master of your reality, right? To be a master of reality is to be present to the happenings of life, to be totally unchanged by the happenings of life. It's a master is someone who can maintain and sustain that conscious awareness. That is how you develop mastery over life. It's not about thinking of the frameworks and the techniques and the processes or going through any of that or even doing things with your hands, right? Mastery is developed behind all of that. Even if you're like a master, you know, like a master stonemason or a master like even like in something physical, right? Where a master craftsman. The difference between a master craftsman and just an ordinary craftsman would be his intention in what he is creating. It wouldn't be the fact that he can make things with his hands. It would be the fact that he is so presently aware and intentional of what he is doing and what he is creating that he's making a beautiful piece of artwork, right? That's the difference between people who are high quality and people who aren't as high quality. It's not the doing, it's not the thinking about the doing, it's not the feeling about the doing, it's the total intention and present awareness in the happening of that's what makes a master. So the goal is really to get behind the physical, right? Realize that the physical is kind of just like an illusion. It's the slowest, it's the densest, it's the grossest. And we might think it's like we think that the physical is like the real thing, right? Because it's something that we can touch and we're the most conscious of the physical. But really, the physical changes all the time and it will continue to change, and it's always changing for everyone. And different people have different experiences in the physical world. So it's all changing, right? So therefore it's less true. The thoughts and emotions, same thing, always changing, always moving, always shifting. So therefore it's also not like solid, right? But present awareness, consciousness, the unconscious, it's always there and it is unchanging. It does not change. And so it's more real. It's actually more real because it just does never change. It's always exactly the same. There's always this eternal present moment. And, in the physical world, we have time, right? So, it takes, for example, 80 years for a baby to go to a fully developed, or like an old person, right? Baby to old person, 80 years, right? So there's time. So it takes a long time for someone to change. That's what I mean. The physical world, it's slow, it's gross, it's like it's dense. And change happens, but it happens very slowly, right? In the thoughts and the emotions, change happens quicker. You can change your mind more quickly. In the present, in the eternal present moment, there is no change. It's always as it is. And so therefore, it's a lot more like solid, right? It seems as if it's not solid because you think that the physical world is solid, but the physical world changes and it changes slowly, right? The unchanging, the present, it's always there and it doesn't change. And it is the most solid thing because it does not change. It's the most real thing that you could ever touch, right? But you're not touching it physically. And you're not even touching it mentally or emotionally. It actually goes beyond all of that as well. It's like almost, I guess you could call it almost like a psychic sense, right? You can get a sense for it. You can get a feeling for it. You kind of can know it a little bit. And the way that you know it is through your direct experience of it, which is why we do meditation, right? We take a deep breath, we let go, you just stay present and just get a sense of the stillness behind everything else. And that's the place where you go, where you will be able to change your beliefs. You'll be able to get a stronger sense of what is real and what is not real, what is true and what is not true. You have to get familiar with that place because that place is really like a blank canvas, right? It's really like a blank canvas where you can, if you can't start to build your connection with that place of like pure stillness, it's like a blank canvas. You can create whatever life you want to create from the blank canvas in the same way that you would just paint whatever you want to paint. But if you don't go and connect with that place and it stays unconscious and you just never even go there, you never even open your mind up to that, then your unconscious will continue to direct your life and you'll just call it fate. You'll just say, this is just who I am. This is just how things are for me, right? So that's why I say get over yourself. Connect with the higher consciousness. Start to paint on a blank canvas, right? Really check in with your point of view, your unique perspective. Like get back into that, beyond the physical, beyond the thoughts, beyond the emotions, back to the perspective that you have of the world. Like check in with that. Like get to know that. Because when you do, you'll be able to really master your life. You'll be able to really master your reality. You'll be able to change any belief that you want. You'll be able to form new beliefs. You'll be able to shift old beliefs. And there's a verse that's very common in the Bible. It's like, according to your faith, let it be unto you. And it's not just in the Bible, like very common in all different kind of like spiritual belief systems. It's like if you just have faith, whatever you want will be yours. And what that's essentially saying is you need to develop belief, like your own belief systems. You need to have, and I'm not telling you to actually even believe me. So we'll finish this call on this note, right? Don't believe what I'm telling you. I invite you to have a direct experience of what I'm talking about for yourself, and you create your own belief systems. Don't listen to like necessarily me or people on social media or the government or the media. Like you don't need to listen to any of them, right? You can just go and create your own beliefs about the world. And I actually would encourage you to go on that journey of becoming who you are, of being you. Like make that the goal. Be the highest version of you possible. Take responsibility and ownership for your point of view, for your unique perspective. If you do that, you will become the master of your life. So that's it for today, guys. That's half an hour. We'll finish with a short yeah, another couple of breaths we'll take together. And you can, yeah, move through the rest of your day with this idea of I don't need anything from anyone else. I don't need anything from anyone or anything. And really lean into your own sense of self, your own belief systems. What do you want to believe? If you were the highest version of yourself, what would you be believing about yourself, about the world around you, about your relationships, about your work, about your health? If you were the highest version of yourself, the most faithful version of yourself, what would you be believing? Now focus on that and then remove all of the other stuff. I don't need anything else from anyone else, right? And it's not to say it's in like some kind of way of like, I'm so righteous and I have everything I need. It's just like get rid of the desire or the influence from others, right? And do it in a gentle way. It doesn't need to be like, I don't need anything, but like, I don't need anything. Like it's a joyful thing, right? I'm good. So we'll take a deep breath in 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in and let it go. Take a couple more breaths like that. Deep breath in. Let it go. On this last breath, just play around with how much you can actually fill yourself up with the breath. Starting with the bottom of the belly, moving up into the chest and the heart. And then fully relaxing as you exhale. Good work, guys. Thank you for joining me this morning. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next week. Bye.